Now, tomorrow sees the centenary of Nelson Mandela's birth. The political leader would have been 100 years old. On the eve of the anniversary, politicians, campaigners and writers are gathering in Islington to read from a new book of letters written by Mandela during his time in prison. Let's go over to Eleanor Cunningham, who is there for us and can give us a little bit of the detail. Ellie.
That's right. Well, the words of a man who's been described as the father of a nation are going to be brought to life on the stage here at the Union Chapel in just under an hour's time, Now, the reason we're outside is they're going through a sound check at the moment. We have been backstage speaking to some of those who are taking part. Now, what they're actually reading and performing on stage this evening are words that Nelson Mandela wrote himself to his friends, family, fellow activists, and even the opposition he was trying to fight whilst he was incarcerated for 27 years before his release. Now, they have been put into a book, but they are going to be performed on stage this evening. Now, one of those is his granddaughter, who is going to be reading one of the letters, and we've got a short clip of her reading just a snippet of that.
Do you understand that you were nearly born in prison? Not many people have had your experience of having been in jail before they were born. You were only 25 months old when I left home. Though I met you frequently thereafter until January 1962, when I left the country for a short period, we never lived together again.
Now, that is Zamaswazi Dlamini-Mandela there, and I did catch up with her. She will be on stage this evening. I caught up with her in the green room a little earlier to talk about what this centenary of her grandfather's birth will mean to her and her whole family.
The power of positive thinking, that letter really stood out the most for me, because I can relate it to my own life and how I've gotten myself through very difficult times in my own personal life, and that it really is one's attitude towards their situation that determines how they overcome it. And I think he says in his own words, that's half the victory, is your attitude towards it. So I don't like to dwell in all the negative stuff that happened. I think it's important to look at how one overcomes something and what that takes and what that looks like, because I think as humanity, we all want to know what does it take and what does it look like to be able to get to the other side of a challenge or a complex situation. So for me, I think that's the thing that I drew the most, that resonated the most with me, that I hope that people can identify with and they can also draw from.
And of course, looking forward, using his words, his legacy, do you feel like his mantra almost is needed still today in many aspects of politics and across the world?
I think it's absolutely something that we can certainly use as a foundation, but I think we also need to craft what that looks like going forward, standing on the values and the principles and the ideals of people like my grandfather. I think we live in a vastly different world, in a different time. So I do feel like we need to somewhat adapt it to life today. However, I think the basic qualities of integrity and dignity and respect for oneself and respect for your fellow human being, and honor and humility, I think, and I think just introspecting, continuously introspecting and finding time to introspect is something that I think as human beings we can all do. But I do think that it's important that we shape it for ourselves in terms of what does that look like going forward. But certainly we can build from what we've been given, which is rich, really.
Now, the organisers at the event here at the Union Chapel tonight are English Pen. They're a writers' organisation that champion freedom of speech and try and give voices to those who are unheard, especially some of those who are actually currently in prisons. And I'm joined now by Robert Sharp from the organisation. So, first of all, given what's going to be put to life on stage here this evening, this is a very fitting organisation to be throwing this party.
Indeed, we're very proud to be hosting this event and showcasing these letters for the first time, because, of course, Nelson Mandela, as well as being an activist, a politician, a president and a lawyer, he was also a writer, and these letters do have a literary quality as well. He was also a prisoner, and a very important part of English Pen's work is campaigning for writers around the world who are in prison because of what they've written, what they've said.
And of course, what we're going to hear today, many people will have never seen or heard these words. Do you feel it's going to show a new side to the man that many people know?
I hope so. There's some moments in the letters where you hear about his ablutions or his broken glasses, and then there are points where he's talking in a way or writing in a way. I wonder whether he actually knew that he was writing for a certain posterity, that his letters, his words would have a longevity, because they're very powerful in that sense. The other thing that we're going to have at the end of the event is we're going to hear from some writers who are currently in prison around the world, including Ahmet Altan, who's in prison in Turkey, and Zehra Doğan, who is a Kurdish writer, who are imprisoned right now because of what they've written by people who in power who don't want them to speak. And a big part of what English Pen does is to give those writers a platform, to put their words back into the public domain, to give them a voice in a way that was denied to them and Nelson Mandela.
Robert Sharp, thank you very much, and good luck with the show this evening. It does seem to be, it's going to be a very poignant, serious but also reflective event, of course, in the eve of Nelson Mandela's 100th birthday.
Eleanor Cunningham there for us in Islington. Right, stay with us. You are watching London Live News. We're heading towards another break, but still to come.